So good afternoon. I know we are running out of time, so I'll keep mine short. But thank you for staying. I promise that the session will be useful to you. So just taking on from the previous speaker, so I wanted to get to know the crowd here because I wanted to speak to you. So I wanted to know, like, how many of you here, firstly, you do not have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll lock the doors before you go out. No, just joking. I just wanted to know that. Second thing is, how many of you here are entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs? Okay, that's good. And this is helpful, right? Let me know who you are because I want to speak right to you. The third thing is, how many of you here are job seekers or university students, general public? So it's about 50-50, all right. So it's good. I'll tailor it to it. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Edward. So I'm a Malaysian. I don't know if there's been a lot of Malaysian speakers. I'm the last keynote speaker. So truly, they have saved the best for last. So I'm kind of full of myself. But I'm a Malaysian. I'm proud to share that I had a startup. I had a startup in 2009. It failed. That was because MaGIC didn't exist. It was with MDEC. Anybody from MDEC here? Phew, because I just insulted them. So anyways, so the next thing I did was, once you have a failed startup, what's the next best thing you could do? The next best thing I could do was to join a startup. So LinkedIn, if you do not know, is a 12-year-old startup. It is now a 2.4 billion revenue company that was in 2014 and listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The share price is about 200 plus. It dropped to about 186 yesterday. And I know because companies like LinkedIn gives us shares, equity, which was spoken to with regards to that. So I'm based out of Singapore because LinkedIn does not have an office here, but I'm the most Malaysian that LinkedIn has hired. So I worked in Malaysia just right next door in Fujitsu for the last 7.5 years. 16 months ago, I joined LinkedIn, and I represent them in Malaysia. So today's a Saturday, and you might ask me, why am I not in Singapore? Because I'm still here. I'm a very patriotic Malaysian. I come back every weekend. In fact, I spend more time here than in Singapore. And I'm not going to say very controversial things after this because some of you might be Singaporean. I get into a lot of trouble in Singapore because I worked here for so long, and when I go there, I forget that I'm outnumbered because I'm in Singapore, but yeah. So that's who I am. So I just want to start because I know it's a long day. I'm the last keynote speaker, but I'm Malaysian, so I know I got incentive. I brought stuff for you, and if you're hungry, this is Famous Amos cookies. So I promise you, if you interact with me, I have 4 of these. This is a limited edition. It's got a LinkedIn logo on it. I'll throw it to you so that you stay awake. So I've started off on the light note because I know how things work. I've spoken at a lot of events, and I'm the last keynote speaker. So I'll start with this. This is a real-life extended 3 question. I don't know which country, but can anyone guess what's the 3 essential elements of human survival? I like that. Who said Wi-Fi? Catch. Whoops. Sorry. Just to wake you up. F is food. F for food. Not F for Facebook. Okay, you guys are the young people, so I know you guys are answering. This is the answer. So this is the actual answer. Someone said A is actually for air. So you guys don't know the real answer. A is for air, water, and food. That's your 3 basic elements of human survival. But we can go along these lines: Android, WhatsApp, and Facebook. Then only I can survive. So that got you kind of awake. So essentially, I think for this crowd here, normally I speak to a much older crowd, datos and tan sris, etc., and C-level people. So you guys are a much older crowd, but I just still want to go through, in case there's some of you here which are too shy to admit, but I just want to say that the world has changed. And the reason that you're here is because the world has changed. You guys are all budding entrepreneurs, and that's one of the data points I'll share. And there are a lot of successful companies in this disruptive world, and you guys are all the disruptors. Your next idea will disrupt the world. And my advice to you, if your idea doesn't disrupt the world, don't do it. Seriously. Because I've learned this from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is obviously a very successful company, and I'm being the loud Malaysian there with lots of ideas, always giving suggestions. I gave so much suggestions that they put me in a committee because I talk too much. You go in a committee, and then you form this global committee, and you have weekly meetings and suggest all your ideas there. But what LinkedIn likes to do is disruptive. So the vision of LinkedIn is actually to create economic opportunity for every member of the workforce. So what does that mean? That means that whether you're a job seeker or a budding entrepreneur, we want you to be successful and, create economic opportunity. Locally, we still make money, lah. Right? So that's what we want to do. And there are a lot of products that you can sell, but they always put into, cold storage those ideas that don't seem to change the world. I'll give you an example. LinkedIn is a big data company. We have a lot of data, and a lot of people have suggested that we sell the data. But the management of LinkedIn goes and say, hey, look, there's like 10 other people doing it. There's IDC, there's Gartner, there's Hayes, there's AC Nielsen. Why do we want to do something that someone else has already done? Right? So let's do something which I have a lot of information, but because I signed a lot of forms, I can't tell you what we're going to do. But just watch out for it. So I'm kind of cheeky, right? Giving you a sneak peek. And I'm also going to bring a local flavor. So I don't think anyone has spoken about Tan Sri's or Dato's here in this conference. I hope not, or maybe they have. So there's a local leader called Tan Sri Johan. So he is the leader or chairman of the most traditional media company in Malaysia called Media Prima. So they run TV3, NSTP, News Straits Time, etc. So, but he himself in his 2013, in his annual report, stated that even for such a traditional company like him, they have to deal with the problem of the Gen Ys. So most of us here in this room are the Gen Ys, right? But essentially, we are the generation that people don't like. I think you know what that means. We are the demanding generation. We want all to be entrepreneurs. We all want to do something. We want to go, and I love it because I love to speak to a crowd like this because we are the go-getters. We want to do something that cannot be done. Right? We have the idealism. And I'm still Gen Y, by the way, though. Although I look very young, so I'm Gen Y, but I'm not that young. So I look young, I sound young, but I'm not that young. And I have 2 kids. I'm married with 2 kids, just for information. Right? And of course, I show some local flavor. I also need to show some Mat Saleh lah. So Mr. Steve Jobs, I think you know his face. So he says that hiring the best talent is your most important task. So for all those people that walked out just now, I don't know what's their most important task. Because this, to me, is the most important session. So I prepared for it for so long. Because I wanted to help you. No, Cheryl didn't pay me anything. She thinks I'm going to sell something. I'm not going to sell anything because I'm actually a salesman. And I'll come to that later. But I think that the most important task, and I really enjoy my job, because I get people like you guys to find the talent, but I also get the uni students or those people looking for jobs to match. So I match people, so I'm like a matchmaker. And I love it because after they've matched, they come to me and they thank me. And these are some things that money cannot buy. All right? So by coming back, there are a few people who raise their hands. They don't have LinkedIn profiles. I need to go back to basics because in Malaysia, there's about 3.5 million professionals and about 2.7 of them are on LinkedIn. So not everybody in Malaysia realizes how powerful LinkedIn is. A lot of us here have Facebook. In Malaysia, Facebook has higher hits than Google sometimes. Do you know that? So some of us here in this room has Facebook as a default page. So when you open the Internet Explorer, boop, it's facebook.com. I mean, as a Malaysian, sometimes I don't know whether to be proud or to be sad. This is based on Alexa rankings. Because I feel that we should be a society that's based on research. So Google should be our default page. I mean, that's my view lah. Because Facebook, no Facebook people here, right? But Facebook is a place, it's good, it's great. I have a Facebook account, I love it. But it's a place where you spend a lot of time, and it depends on how you use it. But most people use it looking at the feeds, wasting time, killing time, watching the cat videos. Now watching a lot of accident and crime videos. There's autoplay now in Facebook. Right? So that's where I would describe it as Facebook is like what you do at home. So you wear a t-shirt at home, you wear slippers, shorts, or wear nothing at home. When you go to LinkedIn, it's kind of your professional network. So for example, today you met, over the last 5 days or 4 days, you meet some of the VCs, the people that you want to meet, the people you want to work for. How do you connect with them? Do you go to Facebook and say, I want to connect with you? I wouldn't add you because my Facebook is very private, a lot of half-naked photos and things like that. Right? But if you go to LinkedIn and you say, hey, I met you, I want to connect with you, I want to stay in touch with you, I would probably actually accept you as a request. So this is where the difference is, and Twitter, I'm not going to go there. Right? So why do people come to LinkedIn? 3 reasons. And did you know that 59 of the 61 speakers all have LinkedIn profiles? Yeah? And I'll give you an example. I want to make it a bit interactive. Have you ever Googled yourself? So today, because Cheryl is here, and I like Cheryl, so I'm going to Google her. Cheryl, can I Google you? And she cannot stop me. I'm going to go to Mr. Google, and she can't stop me, right? Even now, because she's here, I asked her, but actually I go back also, I can Google her, right? So I go to Mr. Google, and let's say I never knew Cheryl, and I'm going to say, who is this Cheryl Yo? Who is this running the MaGIC? Taking a lot of taxpayers' money, right? Spending my taxpayers' money. So I'm going to go to Mr. Google. Mr. Google, who is Cheryl Yo? And guess what? So you guys are all techies, you know SEO, but I'm just going to say it because some of you may not know what is SEO. SEO is search engine optimization, which means that how Google ranks you in terms of relevance. So for LinkedIn, and this is free, right? So I'm not selling anything, but if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, my question to you is why? this is free. If a VC likes your idea, but I don't know who you are, I don't know your background, and Malaysia now honestly doesn't have a good branding worldwide because of all the incidences, I'm going to Google you. Who is this Cheryl Yeo that I'm going to give $1 million to? Right? And because LinkedIn ranks you very highly, obviously I can go and I'm going to click. I'm not going to ask her, I'm just going to click. And this is how I view Cheryl, right? If the internet will be faster. Yeah, and there you go. So this is Cheryl. I can read that she's very successful. She's even an influencer. Wow, what's that? She's the second influencer in Malaysia. Essentially, she shares thought leadership. So if you like her, you can follow her. She shares with you stuff. For example, failure is a badge of honor, which is why I declared. Once I read that, I said, yes, I'll tell people I failed in a startup, and I'm proud of it, because it's a badge of honor. So it gives me a right to speak to you. But I haven't made it, so once you made it, come back and teach me, okay? Right, so this is one of the things people do. The second thing I mentioned is networking. So Cheryl has a very good program. I know she selects like 10 or 20 people, I don't know how many, goes to the US every year for the Stanford program, go and meet VCs. These are the best Malaysian entrepreneurs. And you meet people there. Okay, and these people, they meet hundreds, if not thousands of people. How are they going to remember you? You give them a name card, like exactly like what they do, shake your hand. Oh, my name, da, da, da. Right? Most of them in mature markets would have a LinkedIn profile. You want to network with them. And sometimes it's very difficult. Like, I go to conferences and events, I meet a lot of people. Sometimes I forget who I meet. Then I take name card, who is this? Then I start to Google them, because I know if they have a LinkedIn profile, I can remember who they are. I want to stay in touch with them. So this is networking. So we are not Tinder. We are not Tinder, so it's not a dating site. It's more for professional networking, just to be clear. The other thing is the knowledge. So you're looking for entrepreneurship news. There's so many leaders who share, including Richard Branson, there's Cheryl Yeo locally, and so many others that you can actually follow. So these are serious stuff, yeah? And then they tell you this is serious stuff, because Malaysians sometimes don't like serious stuff. You like fun stuff. You want fun stuff, go to Facebook. You want serious stuff, you stay in this room and you listen to LinkedIn, because we are serious people. But it's good for you, right? And don't worry, there's also fun stuff, don't worry. So let's say I'm a chef, I'm a budding chef, I'm going to have a business to open a restaurant. I want to know about the latest trends, about delivery, for example, using drones, instead of using the Panda thing. Very slow one, by the way. I'm very angry, because I use it very slow. Sorry, Panda. Who asked you to deliver my food? Take 3 hours. I'm very angry. So I had to whack Panda a bit. Okay, so anyways, coming back to this. So let's move on. Okay, so what are the members in Malaysia? Who can you network with? In Malaysia, it's about 2.7 million. Most of you are doing regional offices, so you can go to Singapore, etc. But globally, there are 380 million members, all of which are pretty good. You can actually check out the profiles yourself by just Googling anybody. If they have good profiles, they typically will come up. So what's the common denominator? I already said these are all your speakers, by the way. So I'm not going to give a price because I already gave you the answer. So 59 of them, or 97% of them have a LinkedIn profile. Okay? So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, make sure you have one. Number two, the talent you want can be found online. I mean, these people, if you could hire them, would you hire Cheryl if you could? Yeah, see, I was worried they say no. Right? So these are talent, and they can be found online. This is first point. But I'm going to come back to the point of data. So I'm going to talk now to the university students, because I do a lot of student engagements, and typically, some of them ask me this question. Student, I get asked this a lot. They go, if I want to eventually be hired by Google, which is the best university do I study to improve my chances? Anybody? This is a prize-winning, limited edition. I'm going to throw better. I used to play basketball. Anybody? Lincoln? Some say Lincoln? Lincoln? Wrong. Social? Social University? I never heard of it. Wrong. Some more? UM? UM? Well, must give prize, but sorry, that's not the answer. I like that answer. My favorite answer. Okay, since all you don't know, you see the thing about LinkedIn, I was telling about big data, is we have data that the world has never seen. And this data is not like those days about surveys from AC Nielsen where we ask you to fill out forms. These are data that is real. And for those of you startups doing big data, this is something for you to learn from. So for example, how do we know that Stanford is the best university to study in if you want to work for Google? Because we have real-life data. How we know that is you key in on your LinkedIn profile, I work for Google, proudly, and then I say I graduated from Stanford. So LinkedIn counts lah. Very simple maths, right? If today 2,332 people work for Google, it's 2,332. Tomorrow the person resigns and joins Facebook, it's 2,331. It's live. You can go in right now and check it out live, right? Cool or not? Cool or not? Cool, huh? Okay, good. Okay, so these are kind of data that we do, and it's really cool because a lot of people say then so, but maybe it's fake. Okay, so any of you watch the show called Suits? Got not? You all don't watch TV? This guy called Mike Ross. You know Mike Ross? He said he's a graduate of Harvard, but actually his degree is fake. If he were on LinkedIn, he will be found out. Because Harvard can actually monitor it. And if you go to online courses like Coursera, increasingly we are certifying, which means that I have a course from Duke University, and it's actually an actual credit that I can go to Duke University and continue my course. I did it online, got to do exam, got to do tests, got to do assignments. Right? And before I can put it on my LinkedIn profile, I have to key in a serial number. So of course, this is a future where we have the ability to actually control that. So it's going to be like 99.9% accuracy. But why am I coming to this? It's because for the first time in the history of mankind, we are able to track talent and the talent flows and real data. So I give you an example. Malaysia has a big problem. The whole reason you're all sitting in this room is because you're having problems finding talent. And it's because there's brain drain. People are leaving Malaysia. I have a lot of friends who've migrated. I go to Singapore, but I come back, which is weird. It's not the trend, but because I love Malaysia. Right? But the thing is that the immigration, when you leave with all your bags, they don't ask you to fill out a form, right? Oh, sir, you're going to Australia. Which part? Melbourne. You're migrating? Yes. Okay, so they don't do that, right? But LinkedIn, being the place where people look for jobs, has this data. So if I were to move to Melbourne tomorrow, the first thing I'll do is look for a job. If I'm going to look for a job, I'm going to go to LinkedIn. So I changed my location from Kuala Lumpur to Melbourne, Australia. And therefore, we're able to track the talent's flow. So we're working with Talent Corp locally to help them identify this talent and where they're going. So this is some of the examples of data that we shared. But this is kind of old because I struggled getting new data because there's so much. This is in 2013, where we find that there are people moving to Malaysia and also people going out, right? I'll leave this to read later, okay? Now coming back to hiring. So anybody heard of the purple squirrel? Do you know what's a purple squirrel? Don't know, because it don't exist. And the purple squirrel does not exist, but a lot of people, just like whether you're finding your co-founder, your hiring manager, your staff, your employee number 2, is that you're trying to find someone that don't exist. So my startup in 2009, the first person I tried to find was an Android developer. How many of you here are Android developers? I got one here. In those days, Android, people, and I say Android, you know what they say? What's that, robot? In 2009, it was all about Apple. I was trying to develop on a platform that did not exist. And I was telling people like MaGIC, I'm saying Android is going to take over the world. My forecast is one day it's going to be the majority of phones on planet Earth. They go like, huh? Because I was trying to do something that hasn't been done before. I was trying to find that Android developer, right? But I wish I had LinkedIn then, because then I could actually look at some of the data. So let's say in those days I wanted to find the Android developer. Maybe in the whole world only got 3, right? The people from Google, because they were developing it. Then I said, maybe can I take some, Apple, I don't know what language you call it, Apple developers, right? Then I expand it, maybe in those days, it will come to 19, right? Then I say, but 19, this is actually too specific, I want in Malaysia, but maybe can I hire from Singapore? And it goes down to 71, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially, this data is something I want to recommend to you to actually be realistic about your expectations. And how you can do it is actually very easy. Look on places like LinkedIn is one place where you can find data such as this to kind of define and be realistic about your expectations. If you're trying to do something that's never been done before, there's probably going to be very few people. So you might want to think of alternatives on how you want to get this kind of people, whether it's going to another country, getting people from India, for example, et cetera, right? So coming back to talent. Now, before we go deep dive into strategies of talent, let us understand the talent, because like I said, we are from LinkedIn. We have a lot of data that's very useful. So we, LinkedIn, have data, and this specifically is for Malaysia. I have global data, but I also want to zoom down in Malaysia because, like I said, I'm patriotic. I give you local data. And all of you already know this, so I'll skip this for interest of time. Okay, so the difference is in generations. But the fact is, for all of you budding entrepreneurs, like it or not, the Gen Ys and the Gen Zs are going to take over your business. They're going to run your business because the majority of people on earth are young. Okay, so this yellow portion, this is global data, right? Locally, this is from Department of Statistics Malaysia. We're also a young country. In Malaysia, the average age is 20 to 39. So they are Gen Ys. Okay? Fast forward 20 years from now, they're going to grow up. So all your managers and your senior management is going to be moving up the ranks in your companies, which will last 20 years, I hope. Because most startups fail before 10 years old, right? You know that, right? Like mine, 3 years. Right? So the fact is, you cannot afford to hire expensive people, the older senior people. You have to focus on younger people, which is why you want to focus your talent brand on the younger crowd, and I'll come to that. Okay? And then let's come back. So a lot of people, when I go to conferences, just 3 weeks ago, I was speaking next door in the talent ecosystem, and one person in the crowd asked, I was on a panel next to Accenture, and the person is a small budding entrepreneur for a small audit firm. The person asked the question, I can't seem to compete with the traditional companies like Accenture, EY, PwC, etc. Right? Is that true for you guys? No, right? See, nobody say no. Because the global trend is number 4 here. Again, coming back to the data, how LinkedIn knows this is if today I work for LinkedIn, tomorrow I join MaGIC. It's from a big organization of 7,000 employees to about 80 plus 30 interns. Say, I'm listening to your talk now, I can remember. Right? So we know the data because it shifted. So the global trend is actually that the small is now the new big. Now this is a big thing for you, which means that the younger people prefer to work for you than the companies like Google, Facebook, Accenture, EY, PwC, Shell, Petronas, etc. Believe it or not. So that's the good news lah. I got good news and got bad news. I'll come to the bad news later. So this is a trend, to me, is the most important thing that you need to remember. So you are on an unequal playing field, and the field is advantageous to your companies. Okay, the other thing is, number 1 motivation for changing jobs is career opportunities. That's another good news for you. If I stayed in a company like IBM, maybe I stay 30 years, I may never become the chairman or the CEO of IBM. I may become a senior manager in 30 years if I'm good and the timing is right. So you want to paint career opportunities as that. Referrals is the other thing. Birds of a feather hang out together. In case you were wondering, I'm going to swear. That means, what it means is this, is that the people that you know are probably the people you want to hire, but that's limited, right? You probably have 50 good friends, and that's quite good. Like if you have 10 good friends already, I'm very happy for you, right? So that's where you want to hire, and referrals, and people who know people are essentially the best people you want to hire because their culture and their attitude to life is probably quite similar. Otherwise, you stop hanging out with them, right? And the other thing is, not knowing what's it like to work in an organization. So if you're going to hire someone, they probably don't know what you're going to do, and that's where you want to communicate that, right? And the 1 in 3 who change jobs, change their careers entirely. So I'm a good example. Today I'm speaking to you about talent. 16 months ago, I knew nothing about talent. I was an IT guy. I was working in Fujitsu next door for the last 7.5 years. And before that, I was working in Mercy Niaga. Anyone heard of Mercy Niaga? Oh, you heard of Mercy Niaga, very good. So I'm local talent, local grown. But I changed completely. Today I'm talking about talent. I cannot believe it. Why are you listening to me? Am I so smart? Okay lah, LinkedIn trains me. On the last 16 months, I've learned a lot that I've been voted like best speakers in conference, not this conference probably, but in other talent conferences, where it's pretty boring, yeah? So let's make it more interesting. So when we talk about talent, in Malaysia, 35% are what we call active, which means they're actively seeking out jobs, which means they will come later to your booths. These are 35% of people. 65% are passive. They're not looking out for jobs, but they're probably the talent that you want. So Malaysia has a higher ratio compared to global. What else? Where do Malaysians look for job? They go to job boards, so like JobStreet, which is a local Malaysia company anyways, so they go there. They're increasingly going to social networks, of course like LinkedIn and Facebook, where they're trying to advertise themselves, or word of mouth. So these are the top 3 things that people talk about. So if I'm going to join a company, I'm going to ask someone, if I'm going to join a startup, I'm going to ask someone I know about the person, how do you think this company will do? Will they close down? Got money or not? Can pay me or not? Or expect me to work for free? Do you know there are startups locally, people work for free because of talent magnetism? Just talk to Joel, K-Fit, I don't know how he does it. People work for free for him, I heard for the first couple of months without any pay, right? So when in doubt, don't be shy. Malaysians are very shy. Reach out to people. I hate it. Networking is something I had to learn. I had to go to someone and say, hey, are you open to work for me? But actually don't do that because it's just like how I say approaching candidates, my methodology is like how you would actually go after a female. Go after my partner, life partner, right? So if I'm going on a first date with a girl, I'm not about to propose on the first date because the person will be like freaked out, right? How many ladies say if I go out with you on the first date, I propose to you, you'll be like, what's wrong with you? I don't even know you, right? So similar to that, people who you want to approach, they do not know you. So don't go to them like with this desperado and say, work for me. It's just like going to say, marry me, right? So don't do that. Or reach out to them, get to know them, right? So 87% are interested to talking to you. So 1 in 10 will reject you, okay? And what they want to know about the job, on top of that is roles and responsibility. So in Malaysia, especially people like to know, so what am I supposed to do? Okay, after what I know supposed to do, why you reaching out to me? So you must do, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. The reason I'm reaching out to you is because you are qualified and I like what you do and you have a right attitude. So you want to say that. And then the rest are not so important. I won't go bore you with the details because this is a lot of data. I'll just talk to you for the first two. And then, news spread. So we have candidates who actually kind of spread news. I don't know if you do that. Gen Y does that, right? If I have a problem with a certain delivery food company, I just did it, right? I go to my social media and I say, this company sucks. So that's what people do. If you are going to interview someone, make sure you treat them well because that experience, they're going to talk about it, whether on Glassdoor or social media, they're going to tell people about it. People today are no longer like those days. If I don't like you, I come and tell you. They go to somewhere else, a third-party website, and say, I hate you. So that everybody else knows I hate you. But you don't know unless you read my Facebook, which I probably block or kick you out. Right? So this is where candidates are very important. And if they had a bad experience interviewing with you, do you know that 64% of them may not even buy your product? Because of the experience I had with you. So it directly correlates with your sales of your product. So when you are interviewing, never take the approach, I just interview 100 people. If I don't like them, after 5 minutes, I just splash water in their face, get out, you're wasting my time. Don't do that, because that will affect your brand eventually. Okay? So what else? Earlier, they said 75,000 US dollars is comfortable, but in Malaysia, like it or not, it's bread and butter issues. So compensation is important. However, okay, you want to hire people short term? Yes, just throw money at them. They'll come work for you. But someone who is going for the money is short term, which means if someone else throws another 1,000 ringgit at me, I'm going to jump as well. So that's not a sustainable kind of approach that you want to do, right? But it is still important, which means you can't pay peanuts because you get monkeys, right? So I know this is tough because you guys all have no money. I was a startup entrepreneur, I know, so it's a dilemma. You want good talent, you have nothing to pay. So what can you do? Good news is work-life balance or the culture of the company is very important in Malaysia specifically right now, which means that people want to know what kind of flexibility I have, what kind of balance can I have, how can I develop, and how I can eventually become the COO, because you are the CEO, right? So they want to know that, right? And therefore, what do we do? Okay, so how do you communicate this? How do I get the talent that I want? Actually, it comes back all down to branding and sourcing. Believe it or not, that's the secret. It's so no secret. This is not a secret. It's so simple. I give you an example. I mean, I hate to quote it, but we have to quote Google because a lot of people want to look for Google. In every single chart in the world, Google is rated the best place to work, right? Agree or not? Don't agree? Okay, don't know. Okay, but when we say best, what do you mean by best? I know a lot of people who don't want to work for Google. Do you know people who don't want to work for Google? For example, my friends in investment banking. For example, senior managers 40 and above. Because they find shocking that how can you sit on a beanbag? How can I have to wear a suit and tie to work? I'm an investment banker. How can you sit on the floor? You all don't believe lah because you're all very young. But there are people like that. So when we say best, it means the best culture fit. Does Google boast that they pay the employees the most in the world? Have you anybody heard of you about that? No, right? Because they don't. I tell you, it's a dirty little secret. They don't. But what they've done is they've gone to the extreme that they've branded themselves so well that the best people queue up to work for them. So I give you data points because you might not believe me. So I work for LinkedIn. If Google Malaysia posts a job in Malaysia in 2 hours, can you guess how many people apply for the job? I'm going to give you a price if you come close. 1,000, wrong. So far away. Oh, who said 300? Catch. Yeah, still can play basketball. Right, so it's about 300, about 200 to 300. Some companies who use LinkedIn and post jobs, even after 2 months, they cannot get 300 applicants because their brand is just so bad. Nobody knows them. Nobody even bothers to want to apply to work for them. So this is something that is very key because a good brand actually lowers your cost of hire by 50% and 54% better quality. But they must know your brand and culture because this will help you address many issues on the screen in terms of awareness, attraction, and engagement. All right? So how do we do this? When we come to the candidate experience, they go through a process. So I wish to say it was magic that, if you have that magnetism or someone like Cheryl, they may just drop everything and work for you. If you are Tony Fernandez, they may also drop everything to work for you. But the very reason you're sitting in this room is you're not there yet, but you're going to be there, right? So people don't know you yet. So you have to bring them from a process of unaware to getting hired. So this is a process. It may take between 3 days to 6 months, depends, or even 1 year, right? Depends on how fast you move and what you do. So it's getting a message in front of them through social media methods, whether it's a picture or video or recruitment ad or anything, even a viral video, which a lot of people are doing. It's getting them to realize, to come from a candidate who is actually aware about your company to begin with, reads about an article so you could post and publish something on online portals, and then get them to consider working for you, and from there to be hired, hopefully. Okay? So this is what we do when we want to attract talent, which is 3 things. So make sure people are aware about your company to begin with. Secondly, to nurture your target audience. That means you have to stay in touch with them. Just like the concept of going out with a girl, eventually you want to marry her, you must have multiple dates. You cannot expect to meet them at a career fair here and then tomorrow they come and work for you. You want to collect their name, put them on a mailing list, make sure that they get information about you. Yes, today we got funding. Tomorrow we got another funding. We hired somebody very famous to come and work for us. So keep them in the loop because eventually they might consider working for you. So the world has changed to a stance that it's no longer a war for talent. It's actually a war of relationship marketing. And I have to give credit to companies like MaGIC. Like Cheryl is brilliant at this. You can learn from her. How she does her PR, because she has no problem with talent. 80 people just rush to work for her. I know the data. You can ask her. Because I asked her, right? So when you do PR, people know about you. You appear on pictures in newspapers with Obama, with our Prime Minister. People know what you do. It's good branding. The talent will come and work for you. So take her as a good example. So you want to do that for your company. Obviously, at different scales, you may not have 80 people. You may have 5 headcount. So how can you start smaller and start with a small group of friends and their friends' friends? Because that's where you want to start, right? So recruiting is no longer recruiting. It's actually marketing. And it's, in fact, I'll go to as far as say that recruiting is selling. You are selling your company every day. You are selling your companies to venture capitalists. You're selling your company also to your potential employees. And this is how you can convince them to work for you, not for the best pay, but for the potential future, right? So I'll skip this because you guys are all salespeople, very good at that. Okay? You know how to channel and funnel. Okay? Build awareness, right? Very complicated. I'll skip this too. The last slide is that people have different reasons to join companies. Believe it or not, careers are like shoes, like choosing shoes. Everybody has a different fit. Coming back to the culture of Google, not everybody wants to work for Google, but Google wants to target a certain audience, namely young, those who like to sit on beanbags, those who like free lunch, those who want free breakfast. In the US, got free dinner, right? But at the same time, may not necessarily be so highly paid. So to the senior management of an investment bank, they're never going to apply for Google because it's all about a culture fit. So when we talk about best, it doesn't mean the best is most highly paid. It doesn't mean the best is the most talented programmer. To me and to companies that have done it well, the best is the best culture fit because this directly correlates in terms of the fit. So earlier there was a question whether I need to fire my friend, my co-founder. So maybe that whole process of getting the person in was actually a wrong culture fit. So maybe I didn't know that person that well. And that's why I have to fire him. So you want to avoid that right in the beginning by funneling down, by telling them about your vision, your mission, being open about yourself because people want that reality about you. Don't ever go and sell yourself short in the sense that try to pretend someone you're not. So if you're a startup, you be real. Don't go and tell them, oh, we're going to get funding and you haven't even got any funding because the person will find you out and that would be a very horrible death to that. Okay, so whether it's ability to make impact, advancement for opportunities, work-life balance, or even pursuing passion. Yeah. So that's it. Any questions? Okay, if you ask a question, you get my 2 more goodie bags because I don't want to bring it back. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, I provide the link for the presentation. I'm not going to give you a prize. Yes, sure. Just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll send you the deck to you. Yes.
Requesting for engagement partnerships and so on. So how we want to validate that person's credibility is different as you are validating credibility of the candidates, validity of the partnership with them.
Okay, so you are doing business, you're an entrepreneur, and you really receive a lot of people who are interested to partner with you.
Yeah.
Okay, are they, first question is, are they princes from Egypt or princes from Nigeria?
Only one from South Africa.
One from South Africa. Is he a prince, very rich?
No.
No, okay, good. So there are, of course, scammers on LinkedIn. So the best way to determine LinkedIn is a very personal platform. My advice to you is not to add anyone whom you have not met or who have not spoken to, or if not even had an email conversation with. That's the best practice. Because if someone is trying to reach out to you, it could be for various reasons. Obviously, normally it's to sell something to you. So what you can do is very easily read through their profile. So the number one thing you do when someone messages you is, even before I read the message, I will look at the person's profile. Who is talking to me, right? And from that profile, whether it's complete, whether it's believable, I think it's quite easy to determine. You know, so that's where you can validate. And the best thing is, since you asked that question, I can actually see who we know. For example, so sir, what's your name, sir?
Asakov Abdul Sattar. ASSA.
ASSA.
KHOF.
KHO.
I mean, in one space. KHOF. Space AB.
Sorry, I'm a bit deaf.
Space. SATAR.
SATAR, Satay.
Yeah, Sattar. SATAR.
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 Sadir.
No, SATAR. Sattar. SATAR.
Oh, sorry, I must balik tadi kau comel.
Okay.
This is you, right? So if I'm evaluating you, who is asking my question, let's say I don't trust your profile. I mean, of course I trust your profile. Yeah. I can easily ask my connection. So for example, I know who is this.
All right.
Muhammad Fauzi. So I'm going to ask Muhammad Fauzi, who is my friend. Actually, I can't remember where I met him. Muhammad Fauzi, what do you think about Asaf? Right, for example. Because that's a good reference point where you can use this to kind of validate who you are talking to. Okay, good. Next, last question.
How many HR professionals in Malaysia are actually recruiting people from LinkedIn? Do you have the stats?
All of them, no. I have the stats. I have the exact detailed number of HR professionals on LinkedIn in Malaysia, but I won't share that publicly because we are governed by US PDPDA.
But are they actively using LinkedIn?
Okay, active is something you have to define. What do you mean by active? So if I'm on Facebook, what do you define by active? I log in 5 times a day. I log in every 5 minutes. So on LinkedIn, it's more of a professional network. So how we define active is if I send you a message, you're likely to respond, right? Even though you don't log in on LinkedIn every day, but you have your email there, you get an email, and then you will automatically go there and check it and respond. So most of them are active. Oh, sorry, your price. Sorry, no more price, but anybody got question? Oops, there was a air ball. Air ball. Yes?
Most of the users in Malaysia,
Yeah.
I don't think they have the updated version of the profile. So how are you going to judge the up-to-dateness and the validity of the information?
Yeah, so this is a fact. I agree with you. They may not be updated, but it was updated when they updated, right? So for example, today I used to work for Fujitsu. So let's say I didn't update. Today I work for LinkedIn. So what I could easily do is I try to reach out to you. Yeah, I may get an email, I may respond to you. But if you're really, really curious about getting to know them, you may even make a phone call to Fujitsu. Hey, I want to speak to Edward. Then the receptionist probably knows me and say, oh, he's moved on. Then you might ask, where do you move on? He went to LinkedIn, for example. So the data may not be updated. Agree with you. But still, whatever data was posted there, even though it's one line, I'm HR, X company, I may have put it 2 years ago, it's still a real data that quite likely very accurate. You know what I mean? Of course, that's why they hired people like me to do awareness, to get people to use it more. So I'm happy to share, when I joined 16 months ago, there were only about 1.5 million members in Malaysia using LinkedIn. Today, there are 2.7 million. So that's in 16 months. So it's almost double the growth, almost lah. Hopefully, by talking here, another 300 join. Okay, and another 300 use it actively because it's very important. I hate it that Malaysians don't realize how important LinkedIn is, right? So it's about time you use it. If you don't, I'm very angry. Why don't you use it? Free SEO. Why not? You can get more business, right? It's true? Okay, sorry. Next question. Last question. Yeah. My advice is don't do it. Okay, no, just joking. So if you're going to try online, there's definitely trial period online. But actually, my advice to Malaysians, you don't need it. And because once you key in that credit card information, make sure you know how to remove it. Because I get so much complaints. Why did they charge me? You actually sign it. So it's auto renewal, just to let you know. So you key in your credit card details, it's going to auto charge you after 1 month of trial. If you don't remove it, you're going to get charged. question.
I have a question. On my LinkedIn profile, I have a circle with a 95.
Completeness.
Yeah, so do I need to chase the 100? Because I keep getting questions on LinkedIn every time I log in, like, fill in this.
95 is
update that.
pretty good. It's like exam, right? You want to chase 100 or 95%? I think 95% is pretty good. You got an excellent account.
What does it mean, excellent?
Means
terms
it's
of-
completeness. So a lot of people, like this is what he said, a lot of people's profile are not complete. So how LinkedIn ranks it is how much information you put there. So whether my previous jobs, a little bit of description, a summary, a photo, right? And I'm using it to connect with people. The completeness of a profile. A lot of questions, good. Yeah.
Okay, but
Sorry, yeah. Running out of time. So maybe
okay, last one.
yeah.
Just the last one.
Is somebody working free for you, what kind of incentive you can offer instead of monetary reward?
I don't know. This question really hard. I really don't know. I don't answer because I don't know. You leave it to you lah. I don't know. A shares option. Some of the speakers said it. But I work for free. I think let's be realistic lah. I mean, how many people work for you for free? Even if I go to McDonald's, Starbucks, they pay me 5 ringgit an hour, right? So to me, let's be realistic. But maybe you have some brilliant ideas. I really don't know. Sorry. Yeah, so last question. Thank you very much for your time. Better stop the questions.